my internet is out or it's spotty. Every once in a while it blinks into existence and then it blinks out of existence. Um, so we'll see. We'll see how long I stay here. If I blink into existence with the internet or if I blink out of existence with the internet, which we all know is, in a way, is unlikely because we don't blink out of existence. Even if, um, really, no matter what, we exist. If you trust, if you have faith, and many of the insightful people that have come before, I'm thinking specifically of Ramana Maharishi, sorry, who, let's see, he was a great sage. He's sort of put up as a Vedanta sage, but really, to me, he seems to transcend all of that. So, right now, it appears that the internet might be working. We'll find out. So, anyway, regardless of all that, it is Thursday evening, and I'm a little late getting on because of the internet issues. I was on the line with Verizon. They're going to send out a technician tomorrow, so I might be missing out on a few things. But it appears that I'm getting through. My friend Relaxing is here. How are you, my friend? So when I think of what Ramana Maharshi said, or what he alludes to, that we've always existed, that I don't know. I don't have any proof of that. What I know now is that I exist. And that seems to be enough. I think that is enough for us to base our awakening upon. Relaxing says, in health okay, but in real life, not, my friend Eric. I'm sorry to hear that. Is there anything you can, what can we do to help? What can we do to change that? I keep fooling with the internet to see. The Verizon people said that they will keep trying from their end, but more than likely it's going to take the technician. And that's going to be between 2 and 4 tomorrow. Relaxing says, thanks. You're quite welcome, my friend. I spent some time on your channel today. So, yeah, I was talking about existence. That's the one thing that we can know. Might be the only thing to know. And that would be what we would put our faith in, that we exist. We can't say that about others. We can't say that about anything other than I exist. Right now, this moment, I exist. Relaxing says, Very, because I told you, my friend, first time when I meet you about no home. I remember. Relaxing says, people don't understand me, unfortunately. Um, are we talking about the language barrier? You get your point across pretty well. So I think tonight's going to be a fairly quiet night. We're going to see what happens, see who pops in, see what there is to talk about. There certainly won't be any reading from the blog, as my blog is down. Well, the whole internet for me is down. Laxing says, bad situation. Anyway, my friend, that he's fighting to have his own. I can't see what the emoji is. But I know you're from Romania. Where are you? Where are you residing now? If you don't mind me asking, and you don't have to answer. I don't want to get to. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Relaxing says, and for help, need to join people, but not. Relaxing is in the UK. Got quite a few friends that visit from the UK. Always happy to see that. Try to go to Romania. FNU says, I stay in Eric's basement when he's not home. I am almost always at home. That close to being, I don't want to say recluse, but more of a renunciate, that I have drawn in my energies, consolidated my energies to this point. Whereas I used to wander a lot. I used to do, ultra running, and we would travel to races. Since the shutdown, since COVID, since my father getting even more ill, and then his eventual passing away, everything sort of closed in for me. More so in the desire, I just lost desire to be anywhere else. That the world comes to me right here. That'll change. I don't know when or how, but I know it'll change because everything changes. That sometimes you're called to go wide, sometimes you're called to stay put. Right now, I just feel called to stay put. But FNHU, you're more than welcome to stay in my basement. You know what? Or come on up. I'll make you a sandwich. You don't need to stay in the basement. My friend Noble is here. Much love, brother. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to give you any watch hours until tomorrow evening because my internet is down. I have whatever connection my phone has, and we'll see how that plays out. I'm just glad it's working because that means that I have a connection to the greater world at large. I'm very content to be home. I'm very content to spend my time in nature, spend my time meditating, spend my time writing. Let's see. Relaxing says, I'm lost in a world like homeless. And I'm really sorry to hear that, Relaxing. I wish the UK could do something for you. And I wish there was a way to get back to Romania. So that sort of leads me into maybe a possible discussion here that um, when we were talking about FNHU coming over and hanging out in the basement and coming upstairs and eating a sandwich, that listen to your intuition. And right now my intuition says honor this as sacred time. Honor this as an interior exploration versus a lifetime of exterior exploration. That, you know, I spent more than the first half of my life. Even when I started meditating, it was still this outward focus. What's meditation? How is it going to affect me? What's it going to do for me? Am I going to be more successful in the world? And it did help in a lot of ways. It opened me up. It opened my creativity. But now it really feels time to turn even more inwards. Our friend UK Medic is here. We have one more person in the UK. Relaxing is in the UK as well. Life is a canvas and you are the painter. I agree. I'm going to add something. Life is a canvas and you are the painter, but we're also the canvas itself. That it's a seamless expression, that we are not separate from the work of art. We're not separate from nature. I think that's what I'm coming to love about nature filming, is putting myself in the thick of it, amidst the scenery, that we're not just a seer, we're the scenery as well. I think that's the final, I don't want to say the final realization. My friend Robert Saltzman, who wrote the book, The 10,000 Things, as well as Depending on No Thing, talks about how awakening never ends. And I sort of think that's the first awakening. And then it just expands from there. First awakening is that, and it's really just a continuous, you know, language always fails. If I say first awakening, that seems to imply that there's a second and a third and a fourth. But really, it's just awakening. It's just expanding. Maybe it's the diminishment, but not the elimination of the ego. That we're finally seeing, not from an egoic perspective, but more from an openness, from an aware perspective. Medic says, I always question self-image. Is what we perceive ourselves as in the mirror, what others see. Interesting. I talked the other day of Douglas Hardings, who was a British mystic architect. Just passed away, I think, in 2007 at the age of 96. And The Headless Way, how he discovered that he had no head. And when I look in the mirror, it's an awesome form of self-inquiry, knowing that as I look at the reflection, I'm still not seeing my own face. I've never seen my face, ever. You've never seen your face. None of us have. We've seen reflections, we've seen photographs, we might have seen a drawing, we've heard descriptions. Every once in a while, someone comes in my YouTube live stream and says, hey, you look like this guy. I don't know. I don't know what I look like. When I look in this direction, when I point, I'm not looking at my fingers, I'm looking this way. I see absolutely nothing. Emptiness. I see a living example of the Heart Sutra, that emptiness is form and form is emptiness, because this nothingness that I'm in aware contact with is holding the entire world, and it's an aware. It's in Buddhist terms, they call it the suchness, simply alive and aware. It's an amazing place to be, and all I have to do is point. Of course, I forget. I think I think people like Douglas Harding. I don't like using the term advanced practitioners. That there's an advanced Zen practitioner, an advanced meditator, but there are people who've gone to a certain depth that I haven't reached. I'm happy where I am. I meditate. I do the pointing exercise. I practice self-inquiry. But you can do that pointing anytime, and you're instantly in that Zen state, Satori, instant awakening. And remember the Heart Sutra, the great Buddhist text, that emptiness is form and form is emptiness. And the operative word is. Emptiness is form. Form is emptiness. Emptiness here, but form everywhere. My emptiness is capacity for form to be. So our friend Chris K is here saying hello there. Hello, Chris. And can we talk about something that concerns me? Certainly. Whatever you would like to talk about, my friend. So far it seems as if my, however I'm getting the internet on my phone, the astral planes, it seems to be holding up because my home internet is still out of service. Every once in a while it pops up, just for a moment. Let's see, Chris says, in the past days I've created a theory which actually works, and it kind of scares me. What's the scary? Well, what's the theory, and how does it scare you? I think the fact that something works might be of reassurance. But of course, we can't say yet until we hear the theory. It's amazing how much we have come to rely upon the internet. It's amazing, even, I've mentioned before, I spend quite a bit of time meditating, quite a bit of time in silence, practicing self-inquiry, doing yoga, walking in nature. But even with all that, the internet creates a busyness of mind. It's not always a good thing. Chris K says the theory is that dreams are other selves, memories from other universes. That is similar, but not quite, what the Aboriginals in Australia believe, calling it dream time. That dreaming is just the flip side of this reality. That when we are asleep and dreaming, just another aspect of us is out in that world doing that world stuff, whatever it is. It's, of course, more subtle. You might even call it more spiritual. And then it flips. When they're asleep that time, we leave dream time and we enter waking time. Of course, Buddhist, Hindu, Vedic, yogic say the world is maya, an illusion, illusory. By illusion, it doesn't mean real. It doesn't mean not real. Sorry, it means that it is simply not based upon the reality that we perceive. Our perceptions are faulty in that concern. Also called Lila. Lila meaning God's play. I really love that expression as well. Everything is just God arising. A dream. We're God's dream. When he wakes, we go back to the reality of just God, Brahma. Chris K says, and I know it sounds stupid, but I collected proof, and I found out that some things in our universe which are going to happen. It doesn't sound stupid at all. What's the Shakespeare quote to Horatio about the mysteries of the world? We just don't know. The world is a much, consider from the standpoint of classical physics. And then, you had Newtonian physics, and then Maxwell turned everything around, and then Einstein with the theory of relativity, and then quantum physics being so weird that even Einstein couldn't accept quantum physics. Chris Kate says, what do you think dreams are? According to yogic and Vedic, as well as Buddhist, or at least some schools of Buddhism, the dream state is just a different state of consciousness. We have the waking state, we have dream state, we have deep sleep, and then we have what's called Turiya. Turiya is the, we could call it the universal consciousness, Christ consciousness, God consciousness, or I think of it as just reality, and every other form of consciousness springs from that. So dreams have a reality of themselves when we're dreaming, and when we're dreaming, people can't tell us otherwise unless we learn how to wake up in our dreams, which would be lucid dreaming, dream yoga, Tibetan dream yoga. Many cultures have actually learned how to do that. I don't know if it has value. For me, it's not so much about transcending a state of consciousness as it is just knowing that I'm aware that in this waking reality, I'm aware. When I'm dreaming, I'm aware that I'm dreaming. When I'm asleep, there seems to be no awareness there. I'm not aware of being asleep. However, I know that there's awareness because I wake up to something. Some aware intelligence, even though my brain has slowed down, some aware intelligence is causing my heart to beat, my lungs to pump, blood to flow, my spleen to spleen, whatever a spleen does. Medic says, I believe the path of our lives are predetermined. The freedom of choice is when we reach a crossroads and choose a particular path. Interesting. I know many great yogic seers would say that, would say something very similar, that in a way life is predetermined, God's will. not ours. It's funny when we say that, people of deep faith, it's God's will, not mine. And then they're faced with that and they say, except for this, God, that's too much. I'm not taking that step. Living a surrendered life, as Michael Singer, an author of The Untethered Soul, really good book. I have The Surrender Experiment book back here, where he simply at one point in his life, in his early 20s, decided he was going to literally live a surrendered life, leaving it all up to God, whatever form of God, whatever term, doesn't really matter. And he was quite successful. Still is quite successful. But again, it can be a difficult path because people surrender until they get to the point where they may not like where that surrendering has led them, and then they put the brakes on. I am not much of a believer in free will. I think the more we practice self-inquiry, the less of a singular small self that we find. So who's actually doing the choosing? I'm sort of prescribed to Nisargadatta and Ramana Maharshi, that life just springs up spontaneously. Moments morphing into the next moment, morphing into the next moment. And our friend Squirrel Sniper's here. Good evening, all. I think everyone, Chris K., I don't remember where you're from, but I think everyone here is in the UK. Medic says, when I had surgery, I lost 4 hours of my life under anesthesia. It was just nothingness until I woke. Under anesthetic, you're as close to death as you can get. Just nothingness, which always amazes me. I know some people have reported being able to view their body from that state. Some people remember. I think very few. And they're able to recall in great detail what was happening. But the amazing thing is, consciousness was somehow still there, as close to death as possible, but somehow everything was still there, and we awoke to it, that it was present. And it remained present in every cell of our body, that consciousness was still expressed, awareness was still expressed. There was that intelligence that made the body function. Squirrel Sniper says, for some, the destination isn't what's important to them, it's the journey. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's the key to surrender. If you're surrendering, but you have a destination in mind, you're not really surrendering, are you? You still have that. That's an excellent point, Sniper. Medic says, let's see, I'm going to make sure I got everyone. Medic says, yes, Squirrel, I agree. Medic says, no dreaming or anything. And our friend Duncan Walsh here. We have one more friend from the UK, and we have our good friend Goldie from Romania. Goldie says, hi there, lovely people. Leaving this play while I'm going to sleep. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mentioned you earlier today on the wonderful greetings that people have when they come into live stream, and yours was an example that I love using. Some people, none of my good friends here, but some people enter into the chat with some not so lovely greetings. So I always appreciate it um, when there's a more gentle approach. So Duncan is saying, "Hey Eric," and I had the choice of listening to an update on American politics or have a chat with you, and here I am. Well, I appreciate that. And I'm best then not to talk about American politics, um, which I don't often. Occasionally, we talked a little bit about it. Was it last night or the night before when you mentioned it? And I like leaving it simply that my politics is kindness. American politics are a mess, but I don't think we're alone. I think maybe politics on a whole is a mess. Few places get it right. Medic says, I always say there's a reason the windshield is larger than the rearview mirror. What lies ahead is more important than what's behind you. Absolutely. Absolutely agree. All we have is ahead. And even that, we can narrow that down to all we have is this moment. Medic saying hey to Goldie. And we get a hey back. And Goldie says, thank you, Eric. And thank you, my friend, because I really do appreciate that a great deal. Squirrel Sniper says, I was in a gurney for 11 hours with a shattered T10, 11, and 12 vertebrae. I was in and out of consciousness throughout. I was shouting and screaming with pain, but alive. The priority system in play. It's amazing what the human body can go through. It's amazing what the mind can sustain. Medic says, Princess Goldie. That has a nice ring to it. Goldie says, Eric. Chris K says, I dreamed about something when I had anesthesia. I was on a mountain at night with a sky full of stars, and I was walking with my grandfather. He passed away many, many years ago. So we could think maybe that's not a dream. As you were saying about the dream state. I mean, really, again, in yogic philosophy, it's just another form of consciousness, as is um, deep sleep. Deep sleep is very close to anesthesia. And when you get to Turiya, a lot of the advanced yogis have been in that state. Of course, all of those states are seamless to them. We've all been there. Turiya exists now. It's that emptiness that lies between each thought that we have. If we didn't have it, none of our thoughts would make sense. It would just be a hum. It's the silence between thoughts that gives them meaning. It's the silence between words that give a meaning. In Zen, they say it's the silence between each note that makes the song. Without it, it would just be one long noise. That's Turiya. That's the fourth state of consciousness. But an advanced yogi or an advanced mystic managed to reside in that state and view all the other states as simply passing illusory experiences. So who's to say that when we are in anesthesia, we're in that? I haven't been in anesthesia, but we're in that fourth state and everything is just passing through. Senko says, greetings to Goldie. Goldie says, no princess, Medic, at least not the last time I checked. And Medic says, well, I love you, Goldie. There's a great deal to love. She has been a wonderful friend. I give a lot of thanks to Masha. I've gone to other um, channels that offer a similar experience, and um, I've gained some subscribers and some friends, but it's so personal on Mayhem and Miracles. It's almost like she is looking at each and every person and saying, "You're my project. I'm going to do what I can to help you. I'm going to encourage everyone to help you." And the connections I've made have been wonderful, wonderful people. Medic says people spend too much time dwelling on the past. I agree 100%. And the whole notion of forgiveness is that the past, the thing that happened, no longer exists. That we're back in the present moment. And in the present moment, none of that is happening. Much more peaceful in the present moment than anywhere else. The Ayurvedic teacher, radical non-duality, Cyril Bob Adamson, who was a disciple of Nisargadatta Maharishi, wrote a book with the title, "What's Wrong with Right Now If You Don't Think About It?" And it's great to consider what's wrong with right now if you don't think about it. You could say, well, my foot hurts, but you have to think about it. Other than that, it's just a sensation. Pain isn't necessarily something wrong. It's an indication. It's a sensation. We would rather not have it, but we still have to think about it in order to process it. So what's wrong with right now if we don't think about it? Duncan says, I think the time when you took your father to the hospital and his gallbladder burst does count as saving a life. Well, thank you. Thank you for thinking of that, actually. That you gave that due consideration. It's a really nice, a really kind gesture, Duncan. And then coming back with an answer. One thing I knew for certain, I didn't know what was wrong with my father, of course. But the thing that I knew without a doubt was I did not want him suffering. I didn't want him going through the night, the next few days until he had his doctor's appointment, being in pain. Just for a few minutes of whatever, I don't even recall. That's how unimportant it was. I don't even recall what it was that I was doing. And that my father was willing to say, well, you're busy, we'll do this tomorrow, or, it was after dinner, and he's like, you're relaxing, you're busy. No idea what I was doing. And I don't even think about it when I think of that story. I think about my father being in pain, and I think about being able to help him and insisting that we go to the doctor now, which really does go to show you, sort of alluding to what Medic was saying about people thinking too much on the past, or filling the present moment with things that might be pleasant, but really have no great importance when we examine our priorities. If someone said, this is it, you have a number of moments before you die, what would our priority be? Our loved ones, or looking at a cat video on YouTube, or whatever. When we put those things in perspective, this is why Carlos Castaneda said that we use death as an advisor. Death is always stalking us, always on our left side, always ready to tap us on their shoulder. And if we realize that, then a large amount of our self-importance simply evaporates. How important is it to argue with a cashier in a grocery store over a coupon if you knew death was going to tap you on the shoulder? Squirrel Sniper says, The moment I was in the hospital, I had a reoccurring nightmare. Every time I was given opiates for 3 weeks, the same dream. Wow. What was the dream? If you don't mind me asking, I don't know if you want to revisit it. Goldie says, UK medic, I'm humbled by that. Goldie is saying hi to Squirrel. And Sniper says, there's only now, we tend to forget. Yeah, we certainly do. We're always, that seminal classic by Ram Dass, Be Here Now. I always thought he should have written a sequel. He kind of did, but I thought he should have named the sequel. And you already are. We're already here, and it's already now. No matter what. We're never not here. It's never not now. And we can always simply realize that. Just sit. Don't do anything. If I had my internet back up, I would get the Franz Kafka quote that you don't need to do anything but sit. That's it. And the world will roll in ecstasy at your feet, is how the quote ends. It also reminds me of Pascal's quote that all of man's, I believe it was Pascal, all of man's misery stem from his inability to be alone. Medic says, don't be humbled, Goldie. You are an awesome person in your own right. She certainly is. I see her everywhere on YouTube, supporting everyone, being a presence, and always a steady presence. Never, there's no drama. There's just Goldie being a steady presence, helping people out, giving some watch hours. It's amazing. Even more amazing is when I consider that, like some people she met here in conversation, in a chat, and then the next day I see her supporting them. You think, what just a wonderful thing to do, of roaming the interwebs, serving people. That should be a TV show. Roaming the interwebs, serving, being of service. But it's actually true. It's what she does, and it's such a wonderful example. And I honestly do my best to follow that. Before my internet went down, I had some C. Payton playing, I had UK Medic playing, and I had Noble up and running. And I shared out the Battleship on Facebook and Twitter, on Pinterest. I don't know how to pronounce that. I have it, and I don't know how to pronounce it. And Anyok is here. Good morning, host. Hello, my friend. I appreciate you coming back. I always think that maybe I did something okay if someone comes back to say hi. Goldie says, I only had anesthesia one time in December 1987. It's still during communism. Haven't had it. They were going to. I had a skin cancer on the back of my neck 2 years ago. And they said, well, it doesn't appear really deep. If you don't mind a little bit of pain when things start wearing off, and a tugging sensation, we can keep you awake. And I said, that's perfect. I really didn't want to be put out. Not because of being put out, but because the after effects of some people, they said, you might lose the rest of the day. You'll be groggy. You won't feel like doing anything. And I just didn't want that to happen. Duncan, have you ever had anesthesia? Medic says the thing to remember is none of us are promised tomorrow, so we should revel in the moment. That's 100% true. We're not even promised the next moment. Many great teachers have said, the key to awakening, the key to enlightenment is simply knowing that you exist. That's it. And in this existence, we don't know anything other than right now that I exist. Will I exist the next moment? I don't know. Will I exist tomorrow? I don't know. A year from now? I don't know. But I know I exist. And that centers me into right now, this moment. That I exist alone is enough, or is enough alone. Do we need to add anything to that? Because the existence holds the potentiality of everything. At one point, all there was in existence was that singularity, that particle, that great, tiny, 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 beyond the smallest particle ever, that singularity of energy that somehow held the potentiality of the universe itself. And there was some type of prompt for it to expand. We talked about this with Goldie before, and I'd like to think that it was simply the voice of God, and that infinite emptiness, the absolute, that said expand. And so the universe did. And everything came into existence from that one little tiny point that held all of the potential for the universe itself. And still does. As the universe is still expanding, many modern cosmologists, Brian Schwimm, who wrote The Universe is a Green Dragon, talks about how everything is simply an expansion of consciousness itself from the Big Bang, and it's a continuation, never ending. Consciousness just expanding. Goldie's saying thank you to Medic, and Medic says, hey, Goldie is my groupie. We all need one. Goldie says, my parents said I was unconscious for 3 days. I still think they were pulling my leg. I was 7 back then. Yeah, that's a long time. I mean, I guess it could be possible. Sniper is offering some greetings to Anyuk. Goldie says, yes, Medic, proud to promote the people who work as hard as you. And that's got to be a lot of energy put into those videos, Medic. It's definitely a work of love. I'm taking my melatonin. And honestly, when you see such an inspired work, art, truly, truly art, you want to support it. That's why, Medic, watching your stuff, and it wasn't even like thinking, I should help share this out. It was, wow, I got to share this out. And there is a big difference. When you say, I should do someone a favor and share this out, that's a nice gesture. But when you're struck by the awesomeness of what you're viewing, and it's not even a choice, and you're like, I got to share this. Everyone needs to see this. That's the feeling that I get. And Medic says, and I really appreciate that support, Goldie. Goldie says, I really need my sleep. Thank you for the opportunity to chat with friends. Thank you for coming in and being such a great friend. Very much appreciated. And let's see. Medic says, take care, Goldie. Sniper says, love conquers all. I believe 100% that that's so. Chris says, I have a question. Definitely. Duncan says, is your internet down? How are you streaming? My internet is down, and I don't know how I'm streaming. It's got to be, it can't be because the universe thinks that I have something important to say, because I'm saying the same thing I say every night. I might be coasting on a neighbor's. They might discover it and kick me off. I just decided to try and see what would happen. I got people coming out tomorrow between 4 and 6 tomorrow afternoon to take a look. So we'll see when I do my afternoon live stream if I have the same good fortune. Chris K says, what's your favorite thing to do? This is going to sound kind of weird, which shouldn't be surprising for everyone who's here, because by now you all know that I'm weird. But at the same time, I consider it an honor because I'm in weird company in the best way. I always refer to the original spelling of weird, W-Y-R-D, which means web, the web of connection. If you tug on one strand, the entire web vibrates, and that's the universe. Tug on one aspect, and the entire universe vibrates. So it's really an honor to be weird, and it's honored to be in weird company, such as this. So it's going to sound weird, but it's the honest truth. Everything I do is my favorite thing to do. Now, of course, there's some things that I do that I don't do on a regular basis that aren't my favorite thing to do. Going to the doctor, stuff like that. It happens very rarely. But even going to the doctor can really become a joyful experience. I enjoy talking to my doctor. I enjoy talking to receptionists. I enjoy watching people in the waiting room, and I practice meditation where you wish everyone, may you be happy, may you be at peace, may you be free from suffering and the cause from suffering, which seems a pretty important practice in the waiting room of a doctor's office where everyone is potentially suffering from something. I really love meditating and teaching meditation. And I love doing breath work and teaching breath work. I love doing burpees, weirdly, oddly, because burpees really suck. And moving, all kinds of motion, all kinds of working out. Past 2 years, it's been body weight stuff. Before that, it was kettlebells. Before that, it was Olympic weightlifting. Before that, it was powerlifting. Always ultra running. So I love walking and running. And right now, if you said I had to narrow it down to one thing, it would be my morning walks and runs, holding my little camera and letting nature reveal something to me that it wants me to see. It wants me to participate in. So that would be, if I had to pinpoint one thing right now, because being in nature, it's a meditation of its own. It opens you up. Duncan says, I think a nice way forward for your channel could be to act as a therapeutic chat for those that need someone to talk to. I actually do keep that in mind. And I mentioned that everyone's welcome to it's not my conversation, it's our conversation. Um, so whatever anyone puts out, and we can talk about it, or we can hold it in silence if that's what's needed. I don't think what's always needed is my voice. Sometimes I think the best thing we can offer, actually, I know the best thing that we can offer each other is our presence. Maybe in that silence, in that presence, some inspired wisdom from all of us, one of us is offered. It's almost like a Quaker meeting. They sit in silence until there's that inner urge, not the ego urge, but that intuitive from the heart offering some type of praise or some type of insight. That's a great thought, Duncan. Squirrel says, live like it's your last day, sleep like it's your first. I agree. And the second part is I really took a big interest in sleep hygiene because so many people don't sleep like it's their first, or like it's I don't even have the proper analogy for it. We just suffer sleep issues, all of us, stress, busyness, getting the mind to shut down. Um, so I've structured my life actually in a specific way to get a good night's sleep, and it begins the morning that I wake up. And I'm not retentive about it. It's all things that I enjoy doing and benefit from. Uh, One is getting up early to getting that early sunlight to hit the eyes because it causes neurochemical reaction, producing stress hormones, cortisol, norepinephrine, um, adrenaline, which doesn't sound positive, but we need those to get us through the day, to help us navigate. Originally, we needed them to chase down the woolly mammoth or run away from a saber-toothed tiger. Now we need them in the right amount to conduct business, to work construction, to whatever it is that we do, to talk on the internet. Um, Unfortunately, we sometimes produce too much. We enter that fight or flight and we use it to fight or flight in situations that don't call for a fight or flight, being in a traffic jam, somebody being rude to us, someone cutting us off in traffic, our boss yelling at us, all those things go up. When we're out in nature, first thing in the morning, it helps us produce just the right amount that we need. And then those same hormones, as they die off in the course of the day, produce the raw material for serotonin and melatonin, the very hormones that we need to enter that rest and digest at night. So we need to work in that circadian rhythm. That's been a big um, thing that I love to talk about and offer. Duncan says, perhaps offer one-on-ones. Your manner is perfectly suited to make people think better of themselves. Thank you, Duncan. I appreciate hearing that. Um, and that is a thought. And I actually would be happy to. Um, I'd also be happy to meditate with someone. And if someone doesn't have a meditation practice, I'd be happy to teach them an easy method that they can do right then in the moment. And we would simply sit and we don't have to say anything, just meditate. Or um, pray. I'm not a traditional um, prayer offerer, meaning, I wouldn't be on my knees reciting the Lord's Prayer. Um, but I like that heart center prayer where you just open up to someone and you hold them in presence, they hold you in presence. And unfortunately, my friend, I do not, I can't pronounce the name and I don't know the language. I want to say it might be, I don't know, I was going to say Russian, but I don't know. Um, I don't want to misidentify it. Duncan says, yes, have had anesthesia, but seem to be very sensitive to it. My stepdaughter, very sensitive to it. I seem to recall almost getting it when I was at a dentist getting wisdom teeth out, and I got sick. So they stopped it and just shot me full of Novocaine. Sniper says, my reoccurring dream was being chased by an angry mob with pitchforks, flaming torches, and barking dogs through the snow until I came to a cliff face, a tall tree, which I climb as I get to the top. I wonder what that would represent. In Buddhist and Sufi psychology, they sort of imply that not to worry about the deeper aspects, but to take each sentence and use it as word association and see what unfolds. So you write it down and then write down whatever follows, and then you go line by line. Dreams are incredibly fascinating. Our friend Destiny, Forever Walks PhD, is here. Thank you for coming in tonight. Destiny, I appreciate that. She's saying hello and blessings. And hello to everyone. Sniper says the tree is said, all right, I have to jump from the top of the tree to the cliff's edge every time I fell until the last day I was in hospital. That day I made it to the day I made it, told the doctor I was leaving. Well, yeah, I mean, you were literally fighting for your life. And I wonder if that's the symbolism there. That even more than a symbolism, I wonder if there was a deep aspect of yourself that simply didn't know if you were going to make it or not. And you were fighting, literally being chased by the possibility of death until you finally made it. And then when you did, you had that inner confidence to tell your doctor that you were done. Sniper says that evening I did leave. Everyone is saying hey to Destiny. Duncan said, did you know you can hotspot to your phone if your phone's internet works? I didn't know that. I know very little about phones, very little about internets. I know I pressed the go live button without being full of hope, and lo and behold, my friend Resting was here, and we had a nice little conversation. And then you guys joined. Duncan says, great, nearly as good as you, Destiny. Destiny says, I'm going to throw up an arguing point with Destiny. I don't know if I've ever debated with Destiny before. She says, now, Duncan Walsh, fitness motivation, you have strength and energy that I never knew. I'm not so sure about that. I think it's differently displayed. I think the only way to tell is if I see Duncan dancing on the treadmill. Then I'll know for sure. But Destiny, your treadmill dancing, not just a work of art and a work of joy, but it's a true fitness test. As well, you have awesome jump rope skills. Jumping rope is really a big display of power. Sniper says 11:11. Medic says sometimes the only answer is Uh, bacon sandwich. I'm going to take that under consideration. Fortunately for me, they do make vegan bacon, um, and it tastes pretty good. I'm always asked, does it taste like regular bacon? And the answer is, I don't know. I don't know what regular bacon tastes like anymore, but it tastes good, and it smells like regular bacon. Sometimes the smell alone is enough, you know. So is it just a plain bacon sandwich, or do you got a tomato on it? Sniper says the silence is also the listening that's required to release an issue. Yeah, I agree. Um, silence is all important, and that there's no difference. There's no separation between the silence and the listening. That is often a description for meditation. That when we pray, traditional prayer, we're talking to God. When we meditate, we're listening to God. Although I think in deep, deep prayer, it's the same as meditation. And I think in deep, deep meditation, it's the same as prayer. It's that what Sniper said. It's that listening itself. Squirrel Sniper says the perfect balance. I agree. Destiny says, hello, medic. I hear you. Destiny says, I think you'd have a members area, which is offered on YouTube for a group meditation. Is that the first level when you get to 3,000 watch hours that you can do that? That would be really interesting. Man, you guys have some really good ideas. Our friend Eric Lapointe is here. Says, I see we are back at it. We are. How is how was the tree planting? We're in the same time zone, so um, probably maybe dinner time. Destiny is saying hi to Eric Lapointe. Eric says smells are some of our best memories. That's true. I remember as a kid opening up the boxes that had like Halloween costumes or Christmas decorations, and it just smelled like Christmas or it just smelled like Halloween. And it brings that rush of memories from every previous Christmas that we've ever had. Or sometimes I'll be out somewhere and I'll catch a whiff of someone wearing my uh, father's aftershave, and it instantly brings him back to me. Duncan says, Destiny, your jump rope is very good. I might pop a calf. Yeah, it's outstanding. And you know what? Another thing with Destiny, she's not afraid of trying new things. When she was given a burpee challenge, she stepped up the next day and she did burpees. Um, she's doing what are they called? The kangaroo boots. And you know what? I certainly would not dance on the treadmill in high heels, me personally, for a variety of reasons. But number one, I I simply couldn't do it, and I could not do it with the strength and the grace and the precision and poise that Destiny does. Eric Lapointe is saying hello to Destiny and asking, Duncan is asking what uh, Destiny's PhD is in. Destiny says, Duncan, you got more strength than Gorilla Glue. You could never pop a calf jumping rope. I am watching you, bro, and learning from you. Man, I've been saying, Duncan is in the, I think, the top three, no specific order, explosive burpee practitioners um, in the burpee community. I put him and Tony Han right up there. Paradox, too. Paradox is pretty explosive. Eric says the tree planting went well. We got about 480 in the ground today. Wow, that's incredible. Something very fulfilling about planting anything. And I think specifically a tree, but planting anything from smallest flower to vegetable in your garden to a tree. Absolutely amazing. Destiny says, iridology. Am I saying that right? Iridology, Duncan. Not sure if I'm saying that right. Squirrel Sniper says, when I douse, I sometimes can just ask the question in my head. Not every time, but it's how much intention flows at that moment. I imagine it takes a great deal of sensitivity and simply listening, and not just with your ears, but that full body listening, where you're just attuned to that energy of the moment and where it's drawing you. That anytime the ego steps in and tries to take charge, that you might sever that connection, and you just really need to be in spirit, which is another way of saying inspired at the same time. And Destiny says, Duncan, to clarify that more, let me include it's not going to come out, iridology. I think that might be it, and holistic health. I think by now everyone is probably connected with Destiny, but if you're not, excellent health information. It's a very inspiring channel, which alone um, is great to be part of, but also just excellent videos on diet, on well-being, uh, across the board. Really important stuff. And although Destiny is plant-based as well as I am, she's a vegan, it's not exclusive in her presentation. She's not saying this is how you need to eat in order to be healthy. She's saying along the lines of, if you include this stuff in your diet, and I really appreciate that message, adding more stuff in versus the take stuff out all the time. We talked about that yesterday quite a bit. Duncan says, talking about explosive training, when I attempted Tony's plyometric burpees, I managed 100 in a quicker time, but would have to train specifically to get higher on the 20-minute Navy SEALs. I think stepping in to try anything from Tony is an amazing feat in and of itself. I like doing things explosively, but man, they take a toll, especially nasal breathing, because you get that air hunger, and there's no way to combat it. If you're trying to keep that mouth shut, the temptation to just take that big gulp of air and is almost overwhelming. So it's almost a purposeful holdback. Eric Lapointe says, this channel is great to be part of also. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I sort of liken it to, what I was saying earlier about, planning, that we're all planting seeds here. We're planting good intentions, that maybe everyone will walk away here feeling a little bit better, or just feeling good. And it spreads out. From this little corner, the universe just feels a little friendlier, is the hope. Duncan says, so I must have a cross-training benefit to the plyometric SEALs, but not the dedicated SEALs. That's interesting. Because I wonder, since I've been doing You're Inspired, as it was you, and Tony as well, that inspired me to do the interval training, if that's going to have a carryover. Eric Lapointe says, I agree. And you know what? If not, I think it's enough that we feel good while we're here. Duncan says, I didn't know about plyometric burpees. I have done plyometric jumps. See, I'm still learning from you. Yeah, Duncan's got an incredible channel to learn from. Again, I mentioned that when I'm doing my intervals, it's inspired by Duncan. Also, inspired by Duncan, and Duncan gets all the blame at the same time. So I start off my session saying, man, I really appreciate Duncan for inspiring me this. And then by the third or fourth minute, I'm saying, damn, Duncan. I can't believe he got me in this mess. This is horrible. This is Duncan's fault. I'm never going to forgive Duncan for making me do this. And then when I'm done and I'm feeling pretty good, I'm thinking, man, I'm really glad Duncan convinced me to do this. What a great guy. It's the whole gauntlet. Duncan goes through the entire gauntlet during a 21-minute interval session. Duncan says, does the nasal breathing not induce moments of panic that you can't get enough air? It does. Patrick McEwen, who's a breath coach, calls it air hunger. And it's almost training at altitude. You just simply can't get in enough air. And even worse, reminds me of kettlebell sport. Kettlebell sport, you got 10 minutes to get as many reps as you can with specific moves. But if you put the bells down, the set's over. And it can be sitting on your chest, because that's one of the rest positions, which gives you this claustrophobic feel, and you're breathing heavy. You're in that panic mode, and you put the bells down, and you think, man, if I had held on for 3 more minutes. So it's the same when you're doing the nasal breathing, and you take in that gulp of air through the mouth. Fortunately, I've yet to had to do that, but it's been close with those intervals, where I think you specifically, Duncan, could probably tell, if I'm backing away, and I'll close my eyes and I'll try to regain that focus, and I'll take a deeper breath through the nose. So it's almost like a near panic. Doesn't sound very fun, does it? Duncan says, Destiny, your skipping is plyometric, which is true. Rope skipping is a great form of plyometrics. It's little mini explosive movements for however long you're doing it. Destiny says, Eric, I tagged you into a video earlier. I hope you find the information helpful. Thank you. And I will look for it, hopefully. As I mentioned, my internet's down. I got someone coming out to look at it tomorrow evening. We'll see what I can do. I get the feeling that I'm like coasting on my neighbor's internet. It makes me feel a little guilty. But I'm awful glad that it's working and I get the opportunity to talk with you guys. So hopefully I'll be able to check it out tonight or tomorrow morning on my phone. If not, maybe I'll go to, man, it's been a while since I've been in a bookstore. Maybe I'll go to bookstore and have an actual non-instant cup of coffee and utilize the internet. And maybe be interested in do a live stream from somewhere other than my office. Squirrel Sniper says, dowsing certainly has its own kinesiology. That's interesting. And I can see that. I've always been interested in the kinesiology, the muscle testing. Destiny, do you ever do that? Do you ever do the muscle testing? There was an entire book written by David Hawkins on doing muscle testing and how he called it power versus force. Things that make us powerful, and we test strong in the kinesiology test. Things that are more forceful, and we test weak. And he did it for music, for books, for spiritual teachings, for all kinds of stuff, for food. Eric Lapointe says, can Duncan Forever Walks, or Destiny Forever Walks, bottle his energy and sell me some? I don't know. Eric, you planted 480 trees today. That's some pretty amazing energy right there. Destiny says, well, thanks again, Duncan, for schooling me. The Jay Jordan coached me in my jumping rope. He did an excellent job. And actually, Destiny, I see almost every session, I see progress. That you're jumping stronger and stronger with more certainty. That you're going to keep going. Duncan has just said something very scary. I made a suggestion on your latest video for a potentially interesting finish on your intervals. That can't be good. It can't be good, but I already know I'm probably going to try it. Duncan says, hey, Eric Lapointe, how is your recovery going? And Destiny is saying to Eric, positive energy comes from a strong and positive mindset. Change the way you think from negativity to positivity and change everything in your life for good. Very strong and inspiring words. Destiny says, Eric MC, no, I don't recall doing a muscle thing. I think you'd find it extremely interesting and valuable. And you, just to sum it up, like you would have your arm straight out to your side and somebody would test. And you could think something. You could think, I hate this. I hate this book. I hate this TV show. I hate whatever. And they would test, and they'd be able to push your arm down. You would test weak. If you put your arm out and you said, I love trees, they would push, and there'd be no or very little give because you would test very strong. Um, and David Hawkins is a wonderful book, Power versus Force. Tested all kinds of stuff, like literally thousands of things, different teachings, like Buddhism, yogic philosophy, A Course in Miracles, to see where they, on what he called the scale of consciousness, with the higher states of consciousness, testing stronger in that kinesiology test. I think it went from like 1 to 1,000. Eric says, Duncan, he's thumbs up. Thanks. Duncan says, have you ever met any of the people that inspired your yogic lifestyle? Quite a few people, actually, from all different aspects, different meditation teachers, different yoga instructors. Yoga instructors are kind of hit and miss. Quite a few yoga instructors were fitness coaches, which is wonderful, but it's not really yoga. Uh, Yoga is a complete lifestyle path. I've explained before the 4 paths of the 4 traditional main paths. There's actually more, but 4 traditional paths. And then within those 4, you have one that offers Ashtanga yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga, and it's the one that has the postures, the exercises, the asanas. But in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is considered the yogic handbook, asanas are mentioned out of 197 sutras, or pithy little teachings. They're mentioned 3 times, and only to the extent of how to use them to sit longer in meditation, the postures, steadiness in a meditation posture. So the asanas don't play that big of a role in traditional yoga, but now they've gained, if you say yoga, everyone thinks exercise, stretch. And of course, it's the whole industry, yoga for running, yoga for powerlifting, yoga for this, yoga for that. But none of it's yoga. It's just stretching. It's just postures. Yoga is achieving that steadiness within a yogic posture and residing in that space, and then moving on to the next one. But so for the whole path of yoga, very much inspired. I mentioned this is like the 2nd time, 3rd time today. Deepak Chopra. This is actually signed by him, and I got this book in 1993. And he really inspired me to. I bought the book because I wanted success. It's the 7 spiritual laws of success. Little did I know that the success he was talking about is the success of spirit. And meeting Deepak Chopra, reading this book, I knew that was it. That's what I was going to do. I was going to teach yoga, and I knew I wasn't going to teach yoga postures, although it's a big part of my life, and I am a certified asana teacher. It just doesn't have I don't have that big of an interest in teaching it. But I knew meditation and breath work, that was my path. That's what I wanted to do. So I got certified also to teach meditation by Deepak Chopra and the Chopra Foundation. As well as quite a few other people. I met Wayne Dyer. I met Neil Donald Walsh. So not so much Marianne Williamson. Not so much yogic, but they did help steer me in that path. Destiny says, Eric, do a demonstration in a video so I can grasp the concept. I am visual. Let me see if I can talk Mocha into helping me, because you would need someone to push on your arm and do the test. If not, I'll see if I can find a demonstration online. Maybe even David Hawkins has something. He's passed away, but I'm sure there's somewhere of him doing it. I actually watched Wayne Dyer do it live on stage. It's really fascinating. And I think you and your teaching, you would find it really invaluable. It's a way of knowing, is this food going to be good for me? And you can do a muscle testing. Is this vitamin or supplement? Is this exercise? And the intuitive sense of knowing this in your body, the kinesiology, would respond to it. Destiny, if I forget, definitely remind me tomorrow. And as soon as I get my internet back, I will post something, either for me or from someone else. Duncan says, do you have any displayed photos of your mother and father in your office, for example? I do. I have some of my father up there. It'd be kind of hard to see. And some of the 2 dogs of mine that passed away in 2019, that since their passing, I have Misty, technically Mocha's dog, but as much mine as Mocha's. But man, I haven't really been able to even consider, since they passed away, of getting another dog here. And then in the hallway, I got some of my parents and my grandparents as well, some aunts and uncles. Eric Lapointe says, is yoga also a religion? No, but it's closely associated with Hinduism. People could say it's the mystical branch of Hinduism, although it's also practiced. You have Tibetan energy yoga. It's a spiritual system of reality, of life. It does deal with achieving what could be called God consciousness, but it's not organized as any type of religion. It's more of a spiritual system. Destiny says, okay, Eric, it sounds quite interesting. You know that I like challenges. Yeah, and I think it would be, I think you'd be really fascinated with it because of how the body responds to that subtle energy. And you and I have talked about the difference between power and force before. That power is love. It's that higher energy. Force is ego trying to get its way. Power is the heart, knowing that love is the way. Duncan says, Jonathan O. Halloran, who had a small channel, I just noticed, who offers mentorship over Zoom for anxiety. Interesting. I do like helping people with anxiety, having suffered through it myself, and I can still recognize the edge and feel when it might be approaching, and I can take some preliminary steps to. I don't like thinking of keeping it at bay, because that means I'm fighting against it, and you can't fight anxiety because it just feeds anxiety. But you feel the edges, you feel those edges, and you sort of probe and you see, what is it holding? What is your anxiety trying to tell you? Can you listen just for a moment? And that seems just enough to help me. And again, I don't think of it as overcoming or keeping it at bay, but as accepting that energy and having it almost like an alchemical process of transforming it into something, or allowing it to be transformed is an even better way. Duncan says his video on March 7th gives some details how he does it. I will look for that. Let me write that down. One of my many little books. Jonathan O. Halloran. It's a good Irish name. Destiny says, Eric, I was able to capture a few videos out into nature uh, while on my vacation. I'm still enjoying your nature videos. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing yours. Man, I'm really enjoying it. It's one of the highlights of my day is I'm not even looking for things. I try to stay open and asking, what does nature want to reveal to me whenever? Because it's always something. Nature is always revealing something. And it allows you to start opening up to things that we might otherwise miss or dismiss. Like I like the way robins almost always insist on being filmed. I can't capture a blue jay. I keep trying. They're elusive, always in motion. But a robin will almost stride up to me and say, "Don't worry about it. It's just a blue jay. Here I am. I'm a robin. I'm majestic. Film me all day long." And I never get tired of. I actually wrote. It was last year. I wrote about robins. Sometimes can be a little unappreciative bird. Same with grackles. Some people, at least in this area, they don't like grackles, but they're a valuable part. Every aspect of nature is valuable. Just because something might eat a particular crop or doesn't mean it doesn't serve in some other way. Even mosquitoes, I know people are going to argue about that. Everything serves. I always remind people at the end of Genesis, when God had finished creating the universe and everything that he created, and he said it was good. He didn't put a but at the end. He didn't say, this is all good, but damn, I wish I hadn't made mosquitoes. That was my one mistake. Or any other things that we consider poison ivy, poison oak. If it exists, it's here. It's here for a reason. It's thriving. It's doing something. Eric says, I'm spoiled with nature and I love it. Me too. I feel very fortunate living where I live, because I'm not too far from Baltimore City. I'm not too far from Washington, D.C., with some not so great suburban areas in between. But here, it's idealistic. It's perfect. Destiny says, Duncan, you have a inquiring mind, and I just love it. You are always open to learn, and that's a mind of a genius. I agree. And also, to add on to that, he's always open to learn, and he's always open to share what he's learned. It's a valuable skill, as well as mindset, as well as a heart that you want other people to feel good. So, with that, guys, I'm going to have to shut things down. I got really lucky on my internet. And I think it's because I had you guys to talk to. The universe said, hey, this is going to be a great conversation. we're going to appeal to the internet gods and get it up and running just for however long you need it. Destiny says, exactly, Eric Lapointe, nature is my favorite habitat. If you ever check out Destiny's videos of her showing her love and appreciation for trees, it's a beautiful thing to watch. Duncan says, genius is a strong word. Question, what is responsible for most human deaths since the beginning of human existence? Would that be mosquitoes? Could be mosquitoes. It would not surprise me. But, you know, viewed from our human-centric position, that's a terrible, terrible thing. Viewed from keeping the human population in check, viewed from that holistic, not from my human standpoint, but from nature itself, the way things work. But of course, we don't like to think that way. I don't like to think that way. So also it could be telling us, you know, that we're out of balance, that we're not living in accordance to nature, that we're fighting nature. I know, like, mosquitoes are getting worse here because the climate's changing, and we're getting to be more of a the mid-Atlantic area is getting to be a more almost a subtropical humid area. So mosquitoes are population are growing. We're out of balance. We sort of need to be checked and ask ourselves, are we on the right course? And for me, it seems obvious that we're not. We need to switch courses and find our place in nature again. But I don't know if I see that happening. Although I have these conversations with Duncan and Destiny and Eric Lapointe, and we're all talking about our love for nature, that Squirrel Sniper is a dowser, that he knows the energy of nature and works with it, that UK Medic does beautiful nature videos. That certainly gives me hope that there's the possibility of accepting again. So, all right, guys, I'm going to shut things down for the night. I think this might be my longest session yet. Destiny says, well, my time to be out my affairs. Thanks, Eric McCarty, host, Duncan, Eric Lapointe, and all the others that may be in the chat. Blessings and love to you all. Good night. Good night, Destiny. I'm right behind you. I appreciate everyone being here. Thank you, Duncan. Eric Lapointe, thank you. As always, Squirrel Sniper and UK Medic. Goldie was here. FNU was here, I believe, briefly. Chris K was here. Thank you, Chris. My friend Relaxing was here right when I started, and I appreciate that. So, again, thanks, everyone. Noble was here for a bit, and I appreciate that as well. Thanks again, guys. I will see everyone, hopefully, tomorrow. Eric Lapointe says good night, and Destiny saying good night to Squirrel Sniper. Thank you. Take care, guys.